for the next presentation, I would ask my colleague Maria Rosa to present the experiences from Latin America. Rosa.
Hi, thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I will present the examples that we have in Latin America. And before I go to the pilot cities that we have under the Solutions Plus project, I would like to start with a brief overview of what's happening in terms of e-mobility in Latin America. So here you have a brief overview of what's been going on. Latin America, it's the second region after China in implementing e-buses around the world. So there are almost 2,500 electric buses running in the region, with Santiago de Chile and Bogota at the upfront of this transition. And in the left map, you can see which ones are already in commercial operations. So those are Colombia and Chile, and which ones are in a reduced scale. So you also see a couple of countries starting the transition, and which one are at the piloting phase. So this is one of the biggest features in terms of e-mobility in the region. However, that's not the only thing happening in the region. There has been other developments also in terms of e-taxis, in terms of e-tuk-tuks, in terms of electrifying light electric vehicles, and so on. So this is just to give you a brief overview of what's been happening in the region. And now I will go in depth into the pilot projects under the Solutions Plus project, which are Montevideo in Uruguay and Quito in Ecuador. So in the case of Montevideo, just to give you an overview of what has been implemented in Montevideo so far. So there we have 30 buses being implemented with the subsidy of the national government. So they have kind of like restructure the national subsidy for diesel buses into electric. So that's how the first 30 buses arrived, and they are already running. Then there are already 65 e-taxis running in the city, also with national incentives. And then they are also implementing a national charging network in the country to support the transition to electric mobility. And finally, under the e-mobility promotion program, which is called MOVES, they are also implementing a free trial program for urban logistics, by which companies can try out for free some of the vehicles, some tricycles, e-vans, and other types of vehicles, in order to understand their operations and their business models and see if a transition for them would be feasible. So this is an overview of what's happening in Montevideo, and in this context is where we place our main components of the pilot. So the first component of the pilot is charging equipment for different types of vehicles. So we've called it a multi-modal charging hub. That's where we are going towards, and is the installation of charging equipment for e-buses, e-taxis, and light electric vehicles in the Ciudadela bus terminal. And it also contains some urban planning and urban design approach, which is willing to improve the terminal, the surroundings of the terminal, and its integration in terms of with other transport modes, and even in terms of road safety. That's the first component. And the second component is the local assembly and design of light electric vehicles. For that, we are providing seed funding and incubation to local startups working on light electric vehicles assembly. And the idea is that these vehicles, which are pretty advanced at the moment, are integrated in the renting scheme that I mentioned before, the free trial program, so that these local assembled vehicles can also be tested by local companies. So this is how the Ciudadela terminal, in terms of the component one, this is how the Ciudadela terminal looks right now. And this is the proposal that we have been working on. So there is a redesign of the terminal. So it's not only the infrastructure, it's not only the equipment, but also redesign and an integration into the urban environment that surrounds it. So this is what has been proposed by our colleagues from the TUB, from the Technical University of Berlin, in the context of their design studio. And the idea is, as I said, to integrate different types of charging. So here, for example, we have different types of charging for light electric vehicles that we are exploring in order to implement it. And here I would like to say that we are still in conversations with the local counterparts in order to understand like the feasibility and to integrate all the components of the process. In the second component, in the local design and assembly of light electric vehicles, we are very advanced. This is the current state of the vehicles. So as you can see, we already have finalized vehicles. So on the left side, you can see the e-cargo bikes that can load up to 80 kilograms. And on the right side, you can see utility light electric vehicles that we are supporting. So the tricycle one, which is the red one, the red picture that you can see there, it's quite advanced. It's ready for drivetrain integration, and for that we are cooperating with Valeo, and we're looking forward to receive the drivetrains that they can provide. Valeo is also one of the consortium members of Solutions Plus. And the other vehicle is also going to be built by the same company. So it's an advanced, more cargo version of their vehicles. And under these components, we are also exploring some complementary solutions. So, and we've identified what it's more interesting is that we've identified some local initiatives, some initiatives in Montevideo that are working on this solution. And of course, integrating local components, local companies into the project is one of our main objectives. So the first one is providing a monitoring and data collection device for 2 and 3 wheelers, which we think could be very interesting to assess the pilot during this whole process. And then there are also other companies providing e-cargo bike and tricycle charging stations with solar panels, which we also find very interesting and also very affordable. And then we are also cooperating with a local university, which is we just got some funding for a second life battery project. And the idea is that they will cooperate with the Green Star, which is the local assembler of the tricycles that you saw in the previous slide. And these second life batteries will be tested in the tricycles that we are manufacturing locally. So we are really enthusiastic about all this process. So that's in the case of Montevideo. In the case of Quito, just to give you an overview of the policies that have been implemented or are trying to be implemented in the city and how it connects to Solutions Plus. So here are the main goals related to sustainable mobility that have been included in Quito's Climate Action Plan that was approved in 2020. So first of all, we have zero emissions public transport, zero emissions historic center, which is the focus of our pilot in Solutions Plus. Then we also have integrated and efficient public transport. We have active mobility and low emissions freight. More or less, we see that all these objectives are aligned with the objectives that we have in Solutions Plus, with the components that we have in Solutions Plus. And here you have the main components of it. So the first one is a multimodal e-mobility hub in the historic center of Quito. So for that, or with that, we would like to support the municipal government in the implementation of the zero emissions historic center, in the consolidation of it, because they have already started with the pedestrianization of some streets, but it needs, of course, some support systems, some support mobility alternatives that can consolidate the process. So for that, we are providing seed funding for the local design and assembly of light electric vehicles for passengers to improve their connectivity between transport means, between corridors, between BRT corridors and the subway line that will be launched soon, and also to improve the last mile logistics in the area. We are exploring the possibility of the construction of the distribution center. That's still to be seen. And we have been working also with the design studio of the TU Berlin in the conceptual design of an intermodal corridor. I will show you in a bit. And also we are working with the Zaragoza Logistics Center in the development of a logistics plan, for which we have just finished a collection process, a data collection process in the area. Then the second component is the charging infrastructure for e-buses. We are exploring, as in Montevideo, but with less priority, also the possibility of installing CCS2 charging infrastructure for e-buses. And the third component is, together with another consortium partner, which is Plus Service, the development of a mobility as a service app. And for that, we have, or Plus Service, together with the municipality, have created an e-wallet for the integration in the local route planning app of the city, which is called Movilízate Huyo. So I will go through the components, and the first, the motivation for the Zero Emissions Historic Center is that the Historic Center is a World Heritage Site since 1978. It has heavy traffic flows, so diesel buses and taxis running around the area, and very narrow streets. It is very well connected by public transport because the 5 BRT corridors run through or close to it, and it will have a subway station as soon as it is launched, supposedly into 2022. And the other aspect is that there are important pedestrian flows that go there for either touristic reasons or commercial purposes. And then, so in terms of the policies, is what I already mentioned. In the climate action plan is already mentioned, and they are discussing an e-mobility ordinance that will also include this Zero Emissions Historic Center. And the first interventions have already been done. I would like to show you a little bit. Sorry for the bad image. I've had some problems with my computer before and I couldn't add the right one. But you can see this is the definition of the zero emission zone, the area that is willing to become zero emissions. And the streets that have been pedestrianized are in black. So here you have better pictures of like what has been done. So the main streets that have been pedestrianized and how it looked and how full these streets are. So that's how the pedestrian flows are important in the area. And then how are the current logistics processes in the area? This is also some things that you can see, and how the potential for light electric vehicles is very high. This is the selected vehicles from the local innovator school that we launched with UN Habitat. So on the left side are e-quadricycles. We are planning to have 10 of them. And we also have 4 different types of e-cargo bikes or e-tricycles for loads up to 100 kilograms. So this is the first batch of vehicles. And then now with the municipality, we are launching a second call for e-buggies and e-delivery vans. So we would like to test different types of vehicles in the historic center to understand better, because also there are many different types of businesses. So we would like to have different types of services, so to say. And the Zaragoza Logistics Center, the first approach that they did, they have this complementary approach where we will have like a point-to-point delivery by renting directly the vehicles, and also another one by which we will have this distribution hub, and from where all the deliveries will start and the vehicles will return empty. And this is an example of a distribution center, but we have already visited some plots in the historic center to that are owned by the municipality that could become these distribution centers. So we're exploring that, and we're also exploring the possibility of having a small distribution center for the pilot in parking lots that are a lot in the area. And then the intermodal corridor that was developed by the Technical University of Berlin. So this is in general the conceptual approach of it. And it's a very interesting approach because what it does is it connects the main markets in the area. So you can see everything in red are the markets. And these are main squares, main and public transport stations. So this is how they plan it, they design it. And so here are some renders of what they are proposing. So this is one of the squares in the area. And this is what they propose. So a multimodal e-mobility hub in some of the most important squares in the historic center. This is next to one of the biggest markets in the city, actually, and it's in the border of the historic center. And this is what they propose. And in order to implement all of these actions, we have conducted a series of workshops and events, mainly with the municipal authorities. So this is what you can see on the left, of course, pandemic year with masks and everything. And on the right, what you can see is the handover of the first Valeo drivetrain to the first prototype of the e-quadricycle that is already ready, and it needs this integration. And I'm about to finish. I wanted to mention briefly what's happening with the e-bus charging infrastructure. We have a first offer from ABB, which is also part of the consortium, that has been handed over to the public or the municipal PTO for consideration. But inside of the municipality, the process of renewing the fleet is quite slow. So now we're looking into starting some conversations with private PTOs because there are some funds, some loans that will be provided by the Inter-American Development Bank with the support of a company called, at the technical advice of a company called Logios. So we have been in conversation with them as well in order to see if there's more a possibility to provide this charging infrastructure to private PTOs. And we've recently identified a possible synergy between a local e-bus manufacturer and a ABB. So we're trying to identify, we understand that the charging standard that this e-bus manufacturer is using is the same that ABB is willing to promote. So we think there's a possible synergy there, combined with the one that is before about the funds and everything. And finally, we're conducting a pre-factibility study about the electrification of one of BRT corridors with a colleague from the Fraunhofer Institute. And this is my last slide, I promise, mobility as a service app. This is the third component, as I mentioned before. This is also quite advanced. The name of the app, of the e-wallet, is La Quiteña, and it integrates a route planner, schedule stops, and public transport lines, mobile tickets purchase section, and also users' personal information section in case the user wants to sign in. And so this is from the Latin American side. Thank you very much. And I hope if you have any questions, of course, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosa, for the presentation. And also that there is a regional training that is currently happening. For the first part has finished and there's the second part. Do you want to say a few words about it?
Yes, thank you, Sunny. Yes, currently or on Monday, we start the second module of the regional training for Latin America, which will be focusing on low carbon urban logistics. I will share the link in the chat box.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunny.